So a few months ago, I bought a W213 Mercedes E220d that you see behind me. I declared it the best car for my wife, who's a real estate agent here in Singapore. Now, it remains probably the best car for her, but I'm selling it. And why I'm selling it, and more details about this car, that's what's coming up on the Ministry of Car. Well, before we get into more details about this car, let me tell you why we're selling it. And I do want to preface this with the very, very fortunate position which I find myself, that our household here in Singapore has the ability to have two cars, because Singapore being very expensive for cars, even having one car is a great privilege. So having two puts us in a very lucky place. So let's start off with that said. Now here's the thing, we have two cars right now. We have this car and we have a BMW 740 Li. And there is another car that I've owned in the past. I have regretted selling it and I've always wanted it back. It's actually my actual car. And I'm buying that car. But then I can't have three cars, right? Two cars by itself in Singapore is a stretch. And between the E220d and the Mercedes, E220d, which is the Mercedes over here that I'm sitting in, and the 740, you know, on paper, the Mercedes-Benz makes a lot more sense because it's very fuel efficient. It's got this beautiful OM 356 engine that Mercedes-Benz spent $3 million developing. So it's astonishing that a car of this size gives the fuel economy it does. 20 plus on the highway, 13 in the city versus the BMW, which probably gives half of that. But the agility with which the 740 Li drives for its size, because that's a massive limousine. So the very fact that you can have a limousine with the massive space and this tremendous comfort and high speed without having the trade-off of a limousine, that just makes that generation of 7 Series, the G12, very attractive to me. If I could have all three, this is the perfect car for my wife. We would keep all three. But ultimately, the 7 Series is, of course, a size above, you know, both in terms of space, both in terms of luxury. It has that beautiful 6-cylinder BMW engine, which most people may not appreciate, but a petrol head like me does appreciate because I love BMW inline sixes. And so my wife has very kindly agreed that yes, we will actually sell her car so I can get one of the cars back and we'll keep the 740. Which car am I going to get back? That I'm going to get into in a future episode. So yeah, there we are. And by the way, I've been talking this entire time with the diesel engine running in the background, but this car is incredibly refined between the diesel engine and the incredible sound insulation. So if that wasn't proof in the pudding for the ultimate refinement of these luxury diesel cars, I don't know what is. Anyway, let's step out and let's talk about the car. So to begin with, this car is almost fully stock. It's this beautiful blue exterior. I'll put the detailed Mercedes color here. The thing to know about this color is that it has this wonderful flakes, these candy flakes, a little bit of blue, maybe just a tinge of purple, not really, mostly blue. That really stands out in the sunlight, and at night it becomes almost very nice midnight blue. So its car is almost stock, apart from these, when I say stock, it's stock from the factory, but it does have these upgraded Mercedes-Benz OEM 19-inch wheels with incredible Michelin Pilot Sport 5 tires. Now when I was buying this car, the tires and the wheels were a big part of it. Not because I am that fond of larger wheels. Normally this car would come at 18s. 19s gives it good handling, I would say. It handles really well for what it is. But when I see that the previous owner, and this is a one owner car, invested in probably the most expensive tire choice that they could get, because Michelin Pilot Sport are expensive tires. You don't buy them lightly. Or rather, normal people don't buy them. People who buy them are people maybe a bit like me, who really put a premium in having the best, the best dynamics for your car, the best components for your car, preventative maintenance. Most people would go for the cheapest Kumho or whatever they can find, right? Whatever cheap tires they can find. But if somebody is invested in Michelin Pilot Sport 5s, means they care. So given this was a one owner car, I could tell that the previous owner cared, so which is a big advantage for me. So yeah, apart from that, the car is absolutely stock. It's a E220d, W213 generation. It's quite well equipped because in Singapore cars are well equipped. So of course it has the memory seats, 3 positions, both for the driver and the passenger. It has all of the beautiful ambient lighting, but that's standard for the W213 era. But it does have the sunroof, the incredible panoramic sunroof, both for the front and back. And the seats on the W213 are actually very nice as well. Much better than the standard seats you get on the BMW G30, the 5 Series equivalent of this one. Looking at the back seat as well, ignoring the umbrella, quite a lot of space. One thing about this car that makes it quite interesting is that it's a very large car, you would say, on paper. It doesn't feel very large in terms of size outside, but inside it's quite massive. So that's a quite cool trick this car does. So this trick of feeling small despite having large dimensions is something I think Mercedes E-classes do quite well, because having owned the BMW Grand Coupe, and even which is the F06 if I'm not mistaken, and as well as driven a few BMW F10s, they feel much larger outside to drive compared to the E-classes, even though they're the same segment. Yet when it comes to interior space, the E-classes are kind of bigger. Even when you look at the saloon, the back is incredibly spacious, and the Estates have larger boot sizes. So I don't know what trick Mercedes has got going, but they seem to do a better job with their packaging. Just being objective about this. So yeah, that's this particular car. Now, looking at the interior, everything is in great condition. The only thing I would say that you can tell is kind of has a little bit of wear on it is right here. Can you see this? I'm going to switch on the air conditioning and you can hear the engine start again. Very smooth for a diesel. You could barely hear it. There's a bit of right here. Bit of trim worn here, bit of trim worn here, and a bit of trim worn there. Other than that, the car is cosmetically at least perfect. Just to give you a sense of what kind of mileage it's done. Now this is one thing this car keeps doing. It's been doing this ever since I got the car. I looked up in the owner's manual, but active brake assist is the last form of braking when you have it's an automatic form of braking rather, when you are about to hit something and you haven't braked yourself. To be clear, I have not tested it. I don't plan to test it. But I've been getting that ever since I got the car. So that's the other thing about the car to be aware about. But other than that, just to go back to the mileage, it's done about 93,000 kilometers. And I have done, or rather my wife has done, and that's mostly city, a little bit of highway thrown in, it's done about 2,800 kilometers. So we got the car at about 90,000 kilometers. What else should you know about it? The mileage about this car. The mileage on this car, and I have a photo somewhere that I'm going to insert for you, is just incredible because, yes, you see 8 kilometers per 100 liters, which is about 12 plus, which has got a lot of city driving in it, a lot of going up different HDB estates, stopping here, stopping there, idling for a while, which is the nature of a real estate agent's job. But if you were to look at it cleanly, and by the way, in a similar circumstance, BMW, whatever car I've had, all my BMW 3-liter petrols have probably given about, instead of 12 kilometers a liter, they've probably given about 5 to 6. So this literally does double of what a petrol car would be doing, a petrol 3-liter car, albeit. On the highway, this car gives 20 kilometers to the liter, which is crazy. Like, you cannot believe a car of this size and luxury with this much space is giving that kind of mileage. It's just incredible, right? I did the math on it. The saving per kilometer, and this is one big reason it's very difficult to choose to let this go and keep the 740. The savings per kilometer versus a regular petrol car can be as high as probably 20 cents. Does not sound like much, but do the math on it. If you do 1,000 kilometers, that's $200 a month, right? And if you do more than that, it quickly adds up because the average in Singapore is about 1,500 kilometers a month. So that's an average of $1,520, $300 a month, close to $3,600 a year in terms of savings. That's not small, not to be scoffed at. Other than that, what else do you need to know about this car? Yes, the equipment. So one thing that is not very high end, or rather not as modern as some of the newer Mercedes E-classes, is that newer E-classes have this thing being all digital. Here you have these dials are analog, which to me is a good thing, but I can understand if your preferences are for something more modern. But I'm a sucker for normal dials. I hate digital dials personally. The card I'm getting back, by the way, has normal dials. So yeah, note that it doesn't have digital dials, but it has all the other accoutrement that you might expect. It's got Bluetooth connectivity. It's very easy. You have to just connect. I haven't connected my phone right now. And yeah, it has everything that you need. It has navigation. Navigation looks a little bit old school. Not that you'd use it anyway. This reminds me of one of those old Garmins. It's effective enough. What I may use it for sometimes is I just put the compass. It's pretty cool to have a compass right over there. My wife likes it. So there's that. Yeah, otherwise it's fully equipped. The air conditioning is incredible. Quality of materials, when you compare E-Class versus say a C-Class or a GLC, and I was doing shopping recently for my friend who wanted to buy a GLC, but ultimately they were just not very happy with the quality of buttons in the interior on the C-Class and the GLC. But if you look at the E-Class, these are beautiful power window buttons. Every button feels solid. Look at all of these buttons over here. Each of these made of knurled metal. The vents are made out of knurled metal. Closing, opening the vent. Listen to that sound. Solid. Even the volume knob. It's wonderful. And then you've got a beautiful knob for adjusting the mode. This is much better than what BMW has. The command system in itself, not the biggest fan of it. It's good enough, I would say. Yeah, there you go. What else do you need to know? The music system is not Burmeister, but it is very, very good. Way better than the stock on a normal BMW. BMW really need to get a Harman Kardon to get a decent system. The stock one is really horrible. So there's that. And yeah, everything just works. Back seat is very nice. Boot is very large. I'm not going to show it to you because it's got all of my wife's property stuff at the moment. Yeah. So yes, overall it's a very, very incredible car. I think in Singapore particularly it makes a lot of sense because where the market for diesel cars is, because of Dieselgate and all sorts of other unfair perceptions, that this diesel E220d is way cheaper than the E250 or the E200 even. Parking mode on apparently. So that just means that if you want a modern German luxury car, I can't think of anything that's better value, or rather I can't think of anything that's cheaper. The E220d is literally the cheapest way to get into the E-Class A6 5 Series segment. And there are a few of them, all from this region, because they were all brought into Singapore around the same time, 2017 to 2018, maybe 2016 for some early ones. And that's it. And yeah, and the W213 is very modern. Yes, it's not the most latest Mercedes, but you know, if you look at how the cabin is designed and everything, it's other than the touchscreens, which by the way you can upgrade it to if you really want to. I wouldn't, because it's just unnecessary hassle. You can get everything you need unless you need Android phone connectivity. Again, it's a simple upgrade. I wouldn't do it because this car is for 2 years. 2 years of COE left. If you're going to keep the car beyond that, maybe then invest in it. But yeah, other than that, it's absolutely got everything that you need. Not what you need, that you could imagine needing ever, because it's a luxury car. It's an E-Class at the end of the day. Alright folks, hopefully this gave you a good sense on this car. It is for sale. The link is below, and I'll see you next time with the car that I'm buying, that I'm selling this in order to get. Alright.